Let's do this. Okay. Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. I would say welcome back, but this is my first video back. So if you're here, you're probably here from like when I was in high school, and we don't talk about that. My name is Katie. If you did not know, now you do, which you probably didn't know that. And today we are going through everything I read in 2020, which was not a lot. So 2022 was not my best year. It was a terrible year, actually. But reading-wise, it started off kind of strong. We did start off with Moxie by Jennifer Matthew? I am really sorry if I mispronounce any names here. I will also say a lot, so I apologize in advance. The problem with this book, I rated it 4 stars, and I think the problem, this would have been a 5-star had I not watched the movie first. I normally never do that. I did not know this was a book before it was a movie, so I watched the movie directed by, I believe it was directed by and starring Amy Poehler. The movie is phenomenal. I definitely recommend you go watch it. There are differences between the movie and the book. You can see the cat in the background. I rated this 4 stars. Looking back on it, it keeps the 4-star rating. I just think that because I was stupid and I watched the movie first, that the book just didn't feel as good. Versus like if I read the book first and then I watched the movie could still be like a 5-star movie. I don't know how that's why. I don't know why that's what it does in my brain, but that's what it does. So this is what I read first. You can see one of my cats. Come here. Oh, there's the other one. Next, I read Truly, Madly, and Deeply by Hannah Jane. I think I rated this 4 stars as well. I will admit though, I cannot really remember the plot. Whether it's because it was just meh, or because I read it so early on in the year. I'm not 100%. It was a good book. I do remember that. Basically, there's this popular girl in school, whatever. It's like a YA thriller. Her boyfriend dies in like a car crash or something. And then when she, like a year later or something, she gets like a note in her locker that's like, "You're welcome." And then that launches like an investigation into like who killed him, but she's keeping a secret that he did something to her. And that is on the back. Oh, Salem. Sorry. Anyways, it does say that on the back that, you know, someone saw what he did to her. Somebody knows that they weren't the perfect couple. If I'm remembering correctly, I did get kind of thrown by who the killer was. Not like super thrown though. I feel like I kind of guessed it, but then I was like, no, that can't be. I feel like, I don't know, it was either so obvious that it wasn't, or it was just genuinely like a oh my gosh, what, it was that person. I don't know. I rated this 4 stars. I think realistically it'd be like a 3.5, especially since I don't really remember it. The way the ranking of books in my head goes, 1 is like, this is the most terrible thing I've ever read in the entire world, I will never read it again. 2 is, that was kind of bad, but okay, I guess. 3 is like, oh, pretty good, I'd reread it. I don't remember a lot about it though. 4 is, this is a really good book, like I love it, it's so good. And then 5 is, which is very rare for me, 5 is, this is the best book I've read in my entire life, and I will go to the grave saying that everyone should read this book. So I went on to read 11 Paper Hearts by Kelsey Hartwell. Also, I have a notebook because I'm filming on my iPhone because I don't have a camera yet. So I thought I gave this away, but apparently I didn't. I still have it. This one is, this girl had a car accident. Shocking. She has like a car accident on Valentine's Day, and she, like, a year later, like, she doesn't remember it. She wakes up in the hospital later and she can't remember the accident or like anything before it. So it's like a year later now, and she's receiving these like 11 paper hearts from this like mysterious secret admirer. And she's like, oh my god, who is this? What's going on? Why does this person know more about what happened during my accident than I do? So I kind of guessed who was sending the hearts pretty early on, because the character kind of comes out of nowhere. It's kind of like, not like a shock or anything, but like, I feel like, oh my god, this book is ripped. Oh, sad. Okay. I kind of guessed, but the accomplice to who's sending the hearts, that did have me shook, because they made it pretty good, hinting that that person had no idea, like, what was going on either. So that was really good. And then there was, like, a plot twist about her friends that kind of threw me. And I was like, damn, they fucking suck. They're awful. I hate them. So I think looking back on this, I'd still give it, like, a 4-star. I had it rated 4-star. I think I'll keep it 4-star. So next, this one, this is Margot Mertz Takes It Down by Carrie McCrossan and Ian McWethy. This was almost a 5-star. I would rate this 4.5. I rated it 4 technically because there's no half on Goodreads, which Goodreads, you should fix that. I rated it 4 mentally. I think it was a 4.5. Something about it just wasn't 5-star. I don't know why, but there's just something that I was like, I couldn't put my finger on it. I was like, this is not 5-star because of that. So it's basically about this girl, Margot Mertz, who's like a computer genius, and she basically gets paid, I guess, to clean up the internet. One thing I really liked about this is it did touch on some sensitive topics. She will clean up anything off the internet, dick pics, nip slips, whatever, for the right price. Her parents lost her college fund. All this is in the synopsis. But when someone hires her to delete a leaked nude, she discovers that there's a whole website of underage girls and their nudes from her high school online, and that it's getting bigger. More people are posting to it. More people are posting the nudes. The more she digs, the more she realizes that some jobs are so dirty that no one goes away clean. I was shook and surprised and shocked. Do people still say shook? I was surprised by the ending and who was behind the website. That kind of threw me. I'm not gonna lie. This goes right along with Moxie. These are 2 books I would highly recommend you read because yes, the triggers are very important, but I think that the message is also kind of important as well, because this has a lot of girls like treated like garbage, and I think it's really empowering to see a badass bitch taking shit down. That I would, alongside Moxie, those are very high 4s, so I would recommend reading those. This next one, don't ever read this. Don't waste your money. Don't waste your time. This book is terrible. I know it's a Wattpad book, but I've read Wattpad books. I was reading books on Wattpad before they were published. I read the entire After series when instead of Harden, it still said Harry Styles. This should not have been published. This is not one of the ones that should have been published. I hated this. I think I rated it 2 stars. 2 stars. And that was generous because this book sucks. Macy's character felt so obnoxious and forced. Spoiler alert for anyone who was going to read this, which don't. There is a cheating plot line in this book that was extremely out of the characters that it was for. I'm not going to say who cheats. I feel like it kind of goes. But it was extremely out of character, and it just, oh my god, this book sucks. We're going on to another one. It wasn't bad. This is Prom House by Chelsea Mueller. Also, I didn't say, but this is The Bad Boy and the Tomboy by Nicole Nwosu. I, again, do not need to mess up that name. So Prom House. This one, basically these high schoolers rent this beach house for prom, and then everything goes wrong. There's an insanely violent storm, which again, that's not something that they could do. That's not something they did. So that was like a fun little natural disaster thrown in there. With the violent storm comes like a murder. And so, yeah, that's what the book's about. They're at this house after prom. They're supposed to be chilling, hanging out, when all of a sudden their friends are dropping dead like flies. And it doesn't help that there's an insane storm that's like literally forcing them to stay in the house. They cannot leave. So they're stuck in the house, and someone in the house is a murderer. I rated this 3 stars. I think I'd stick with that. It was good. I would reread it. It was decent. I liked it. It was very short. Obviously, I would have loved to seen this stretched out because it could have been really good. So, The Killer. I feel like the killer is so obvious that you wouldn't expect it to be this person, but then it ended up being that person anyways, and you're like, oh. It's kind of anticlimactic. I would have liked it if it was maybe someone that you really weren't expecting. It's good. I liked it. I'd reread it. You know, it's not bad. 3 stars. I will stick with that 3-star rating. Next, we have I Kissed Shara Wheeler by Casey McQuiston. McQuiston? I'm so sorry. I rated this book 4 stars. This is very good. It's a nice little queer romance. I love the main character. I don't know what it is about her. She's just so funny to me. I hate Shara. I don't like her character at all. I feel like she's an awful person. So basically, Shara Wheeler kisses 3 people before she goes missing, and she leaves clues to where she is, and the 3 people she kissed, including the main character, I believe her name was Chloe, they like team up to go find Shara. And this is also, by the way, this is set in Alabama, so it's in a very Christian, anti-LGBTQ community is when this book is set, which I think that makes the book better. I would recommend this book, especially if you're looking for some queer romances. This has heavy LGBTQ themes. It talks about some harder stuff like body image, gender identity. So this one's really, really good. I recommend this a lot, especially if you're looking for some queer romances. All around, it was a good book. I stick with the 4 stars. I don't want to rate it 5 because I hated Shara's character. She's kind of like a snot-nosed little brat, and I don't like her, So next we have Maybe Not by Colleen Hoover. It's a novella, technically. It's about Warren and Bridget. This is part of the Maybe series, so this is considered Maybe 1.5. I mean, technically you don't need to read Maybe to read Maybe Not, but maybe you should read Maybe before you read Maybe Not. Personally, I think I probably should have done that, for me at least. I rated this like a 4. I'd say maybe like a 3.5, 4. Warren's character is a little annoying. Bridget's character, she's one of those like tough girls that's like super closed off, had like some sort of traumatic thing, but I feel like at some points her character is just kind of annoying to me. I don't really know. I don't know how to explain it. I feel like maybe if I had read Maybe before this, it would make a little bit more sense. So I'm gonna keep this and I'm gonna reread it after I've read Maybe to see if I'm missing something. Because I know that the main characters in Maybe, you do see a glimpse of them, but this is, I don't know. I'd keep this at a 3.5. I rated it 4 on Goodreads technically, but it's kind of, I would say more 3.5 than anything. Also, with Colleen Hoover, check trigger warnings. A lot of her books are very, like, triggering. So next I read The Fear by Natasha Preston. This is her newest release, I believe. I am a Natasha Preston stan. I love her. I have all of her books pretty much. This one wasn't my favorite though. I rated this 4 stars. My main problem with Natasha Preston is some of her books, she ends on this like humongous cliffhanger that makes you think there's gonna be a second one, and then there never is. So if you read The Cabin, for example, I think that was one of my first Natasha Preston reads. If you've read The Cabin, she did the same thing in this, where she ended it on such a ginormous cliffhanger that the ending's almost unsatisfying, and you're kind of like, what the hell? It was a good book. It was a great book. Basically, these people, there's this like trend going around called like hashtag the fear, and people are sharing that hashtag with their biggest fears, and then some people are getting killed by that fear. So like if you say your fear is getting like, this is just off the top of my head, this is not in the book, I don't think. If your fear is like, I don't know, getting pushed off a building, the killer pushes you off a building. So The Killer, it's another one of those books where it's like, the character they hint it could be is so obvious that you're like, there's no way. And then it is. This person, I really wish they wouldn't have made them the killer or one of, because of the fact that I think this person could have been a great crime fighting partner. And I don't know, I feel like it was a little bit of a missed opportunity. I mean, or maybe that was too basic, you know, like, I don't know. You don't expect who it is, but at the same time, it hints that it could be 2 people technically, and you have to kind of like get, or 2 or 3 people, but one of them, it's like you clearly know it's not that person. That person's just a jackass. 4 stars. I'd give it like a low 4 though, just because that ending was really like a drop off for me. It ended on such a big cliffhanger, and I know that this author has a tendency to not release sequels or even like epilogues or anything for the books she leaves on huge cliffhangers, which bothers me immensely. Next we have That Night by Sin Balog. I am so sorry if I'm butchering your names, by the way. This one, throughout the entire book, check trigger warnings. This one has gotten some insane trigger warnings. Throughout the book, I was like, oh my god, this is so good. I can't wait to figure out what actually happened. And then the last couple chapters, like the last half, the first half was like really good and really intense. The last half, I would say, fell flat for me. It's about this girl, Haley, her boyfriend, trigger warning, killed himself, like, and he was one of those people you wouldn't expect to do it or whatever. It's like such a depression that like she doesn't remember anything. So it's like a year later, it's coming up on the year anniversary of when he died, and she's like investigating, trying to figure out what she doesn't remember, what actually happened. And like when she asked her best friend to help, which is also her dead boyfriend's brother-in-law, or not brother-in-law, stepbrother, sorry. He does help her, but he's kind of telling her like, move on, get over the pain. So she starts digging. Listen, here's the thing. I hated the ending. I felt like the plot twist ending was terrible and out of character for who you find out it was. Another thing, you quickly realize that Declan's character is a piece of shit. It is told through her point of view. So she's like, oh my god, he's this wonderful guy. I love him. He's amazing. And you're like, he sucks, sweetie. He's terrible. I think I ended up with this being a 3-star because, I mean, it's good. I would reread it to re-look for the signs of who it was to see what I missed. But it's not my favorite. Check the warnings, though. There's a lot of insanely sensitive topics in this book as well. So I don't rate things 1 star very often. Like, you have to be the worst. That, like, even the bad boy and the tomboy, even this one did not get 1 star, but this one did. This one is a 1 star. This is the worst thing I've literally ever read. It's called Who Killed the Homecoming Queen. It's part of R.L. Stein's Fear Street stories. I saw it and I was like, oh, you know, I love R.L. Stein. Like, even now, reading Goosebumps, I'm like, oh, this is such a good book. Like, love this. This is terrible. This makes me upset. This was a $12 book, by the way. It's a novella. And I was like, okay, yeah, like, I wanted to see how they would do someone getting, like, a horror story in such a short amount of pages. This book is 151 pages. I hated it. It's about this girl, Ava, who thinks she might be psychic. She gets like these weird feelings when something's about to go wrong. So it's like, oh, okay, it's not like a killer book. It's like a magic psychic book kind of, which wasn't what I was expecting because it literally says Who Killed the Homecoming Queen. But I was like, okay, this could be fun, you know? She gets like this rush of like fear when something bad's about to happen. So, and I guess she gets one at homecoming or something, and her friend Tanya gets like nominated like homecoming queen, and she thinks that someone has the plans to kill her. And then throughout the book, people are dying. It rushes really fast, and then you find out, like, yeah, people die in this book, but then you also find out that someone you thought died didn't actually die. Don't read this. So the next 3 books I don't have with me, but I'll include a picture here, hopefully. I read 3 books in the My Weird School series. Now, listen, I added these to my Goodreads because I did technically read them, but I read them to my students. I work at an elementary school, and I mean, they were 3 stars for kids' books, 2-3 stars. I don't know. They're good if you need a book to read to a kid. Next, I read The Girl I Used to Be by April Henry. This one is about a girl who 14 years ago, her mother was killed and her father went missing, and then she like got put into like foster care and moved around for a while, and now she's like an emancipated like teenager. I think her character's supposed to be like 17. Yeah, 17. And she gets a visit from like the police that they found that her father might be dead, that maybe he wasn't the killer. So she goes to her hometown and moves into her old house and basically starts investigating the death of her mother. I'm trying to remember. I rated this book 4 stars, I think, but I think it would be low 4. It was a good book. There is a subplot for romance, which I'm a sucker for in horror books. I love subplots for romance. The killer was kind of a shock. The killer also killed a character I really, really loved, which made me super annoyed. Like, I hated that. But it was a good book. I don't really have a lot to say about it. Just that it was a good book. That the character, she's cool. Yeah, I don't know. It was a good book. Okay, so this book, technically, I cheated on a bit. I read it for school, and I literally only got like 5 chapters in before I was like, I'm done. Like, it's an autobiography, or not an autobiography. I think it's a biography. It's just a straight biography. I read it for my women and gender studies class. It was a good book. I was not in the place to be reading a biography, and that is Becoming by Michelle Obama. Now, I'm not saying it's a bad book. It's actually a very good book. I did cheat, though, a little bit. I rated it 4 stars. The way I cheated, though, is I didn't technically complete it. It technically got DNF'd. Here's the thing. I did end up having to, like, skim through it for my class. So technically, I finished it. And obviously, you know what happens at the end because she's still alive. She wrote a second book. This is mainly about her and her family's, like her past and then her family's rise to, like, presidency. I did really love reading stuff from her point of view, and there are pictures in here and everything that are really cool. It's like that. I mean, I'm gonna actually finish it, sorry. But 4 stars. It was very good. She's got a very great writing style, I think, and she's very smart. She's very, like, I would not have remembered all of this about my childhood. Maybe that's the trauma I have, but, you know, who knows? I don't know. She did a very good job. I think it was very good. It's like a hefty biography, too. It's got, like, 420 pages? 421 pages. Technically, I did lie and I did cheat, but it was still a good book. Second to last is Not If I Save You First by Allie Carter. You know what? I rated this 4 stars. I would keep it 4 stars. I kind of hated the ending, though. I bought this purely because it's based in Alaska and I live in Alaska. Because finding books based in Alaska, I like to read them and then berate them for being inaccurate. They don't really tell you where in Alaska. They just say, like, the Alaskan wilderness is where this is set. So technically everything that's going on in this book could be accurate. I wouldn't know. I live in Fairbanks. So, but it's about this girl, Maddie. Her dad was like a secret service, one of like the main secret service guy, and her best friend was Logan, and his dad is the president, until something happens during like this presidential event, and Maddie and her dad move away to the Alaskan wilderness, where she's got like no phone, no internet, no nothing. She's literally truly in the wilderness. And she never hears from Logan again. She sends him all these sorts of letters, and then he never writes back. And then 6 years later, he is like a bit of a turd, and he shows up before she can be like, yo, what the hell? This guy, this assailant, this bad guy shows up out of nowhere, and then they have to like embark in this adventure or whatever. Maddie has to go find him and save him so she can kill him because she's pissed. This could have been really, really, really good. Like, the romance subplot's really cute. It could have been so much better because you find out why he didn't write back and why he just ghosted her technically. It was the stupidest reason on the planet. It was really dumb. I feel like it was just not very well thought out. They almost tried to be like passe about it, and then she forgives him really easily. So I don't know. I'd give this a low 4 because that was really stupid. I'd say it's a good book. I'd say you should read it. It fits a lot in this short amount of pages and it doesn't feel rushed. So I'm gonna call that a win. So the last book I read in 2022, for a total of 18 books. For reference, my original goal was 50. I had a terrible year and it was in the biggest reading slump of my life. So I changed to 25 around October thinking I had time, and then I ended up only reading 18. But the last book I read was The Holiday Switch by Tiff Marcello. I don't know why, but I had written that I read this the year before, and then I remembered starting it. I don't remember anything else, so I was like, did I even finish it? So I restarted it and I finished it. I think I read this in 2 days. It's a very short, quick read. It's about this girl, Lila, who works at this like bookstore that's like, it's like this famous gift shop kind of, because it's based off this movie, Holiday by the Lake. I don't think that's a real movie, by the way. She wants to work full-time so she can pay to go to her dream school because she gets accepted. But then her boss's annoying nephew like pops into view and is like, surprise, shawty, I'm here. Lila's very like my way or the highway, and then he's very anyway but her way. I don't know. I feel like it's a cheesy holiday romance. I rated this 3 stars. It's good. I would reread it. It's a quick read. It's a fun read. I don't know. I really don't have a lot to say about this book other than it was okay, but it wasn't like a solid high note to end the year on. So yeah, it's a good book. I'd recommend it. A cute little cheesy holiday romance. Yeah. And that's all I read in 2022. Not a lot. So yeah. That's everything I read in 2022. Like I said, not the best year, kind of had a reading slump. But yeah, thank you for watching, and bye. I apologize, by the way, for the terrible quality. I'm getting a camera. I promise. This is temporary, but goodbye.